Hello and welcome to Chat Sith Get Banged, the Team Calamity Final Fantasy TCG podcast. I am your host Tom Tombo Hall, and joining me today, as always, it's the judge Mitch Lander.
Hello.
And also joining us is making his first appearance on the show. It's Team Calamity's very own supervillain, James Stevenson.
Seems harsh.
Hi, James. But I'm going to guess, do you want to say a few words for the James Stevenson fans before we get into it? I think most people know who you are. And...
Yeah, whether they like it or not, yeah. Yeah, that's nothing for me. Hi.
Oh, yeah. So this week, we're going to be talking meta, because we've got James. And James, you're a meta player, really. You always play like one deck and Opus. In fact, at the moment you're on Wind Water. That's been your jam since Opus 5, I think. Or was it Opus 6?
It feels like that long. I don't know if it is that long, but yeah, in some way or another.
Yeah, so we'll talk about meta. We've got the big Crystal Cup coming up in the UK in the next couple of weeks, so we're focusing on that. Before we get into it, Mitch, you wanted to discuss the latest round of spoilers, because we weren't sure what's happening, but it looks like community spoiler season now is in full flow, and they're doing it slightly different this time. So they get like a handful of them in one go, and then they get people from various parts of the community to discuss what they think of them. So we've had a good chunk come through already. Should we quickly go through those ones, see if there's anything to add? So I think they started off with Princess Sarah, which is the 1 CP light backup, and it becomes a different element when it enters the field. What do we think of that one?
I really like it. I think it's very strong. I think it's nice that it changes element as well, so you're not even limited to just light cards. Like you can run dark with it if you wanted to, so it's very versatile.
Yeah, no, I quite like this one. I think the obvious thing, Job Princess, so the Fire Garland potentially could be relevant, or at least give you a better chance with it. I do really love Garland, but it's just, yeah, at the moment it's quite hard to do anything worthwhile with it. So maybe this will be a thing. James, does this do anything for you?
Yeah, I was discussing this the other day. It's absolutely fantastic if you draw it as your first light, because you can just put it down as a regular backup, change what element you want it to, and then it's no longer light for the rest of the game. So you can play another light and then you're absolutely no problems. But unfortunately, if you already control a light, you can't put her onto the board unless you control, like Cosmos, for example.
Oh, yeah, I never considered that, actually. Is that legit, Mitchell? So it has to come in, it comes in as light and then changes.
Yeah, that's how it works.
Okay. So maybe sours it a little bit for me, but still pretty cool. The next one was Ritz. So this was one of the card of the week. So 3 CP, it's Final Fantasy Tactics Advance, which seems to get lots of banging cards even though no one plays it. So if you control a category FFTA forward other than Ritz gains 1,000 power and haste, and it activates 3 backups when it attacks, and then a damage free, it can't be blocked. A lot of text. What do we think of Ritz?
At the moment, I'm a bit undecided. In terms of how it looks, is absolutely fantastic. But at the moment, because I'd love to put this in Wind Water, I need to see if there's another FFTA forward that's worth playing in those colours. Until that point, I'm kind of reserving judgment. I don't think that kind of playing her without the FFTA forward is worth it, or if there's no space for it. I don't know if Mitch agrees.
Yeah, I would kind of agree as well. I mean, you've got Shara that can help with ping, but then you could do Ritz, then play Shara, do 6k, Val 4 or forward maybe, but I think you need something better than that, to be honest.
Yeah, so, my first thoughts were it was like an Iloa partner, but that's FFTA2, right?
Yeah.
I slightly panicked and I was like, okay, no, it's not so bad. Yeah, I don't know. It seems like it gets a lot of text.
I mean, if you give it haste,
very much.
If you give it haste outside of the TA2, like Red Mage or something like that, or even a Lua special, it's strong.
Yeah. What's a Dell? Is that 2 as well?
Yeah, I think that's a 2.
Okay, yeah, because that would be a bit busted, wouldn't it? But Yeah, seems right. This is going to be a full art as well. And I did notice someone said it looks like she's cuddling Mr. Blobby. So it goes up in my estimation for that one. Cool. The next one was okay. So another card of the week. This one is causing a lot of buzz for fairly obvious reasons. This was the Dark Sephiroth, so the Dark Legend for this set. It's an absolutely beastie bastard. I'm going to say we all like this one. So Mitch, you start because I know you're big on this.
Yeah, I was. I was unsure about the ruling behind the cloud, like tapping to break a 3-drop FF7 forward to bring in this like early turns, which you can't do because it says play. I wasn't sure if those rules still counted while it was in the deck. Turns out it does still count, so you can't play it. So it's still a nice card, but it's not as absolutely busted as I thought it was going to be. Because I thought you could literally play cloud, play that 3-drop, like do the cloud effect, turn 2, remove their backup, and that's it. You pretty much won the game. So it's not as busted as that. Thank fuck for that. But I still like it.
It's going to see a lot of play. I think lots of going to move to this. 10k for 4 cost is very hard to kill, particularly when you pair it up with the Opus 11 Tifa where things can't be broken. Yeah, that's damage 3, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
no, damage 3, so you're one away.
I think a lot of the effects are damage 3 now.
Yeah, so then Sephiroth just sits there. What's quite brutal is that if you're like stomping ahead and your opponent's on 4 damage, it also counts. So it's like either way. So yeah, it's going to be a very bad time for you if you're already 4-0 down and then they slap this down. But yeah, James, you like this one, or are you probably thinking I need to start playing Vamphrits again?
No, I'm just hoping that I'll be able to slam down a Yarg Rosh before this comes down. Yeah, it's an absolute beast of a card, isn't it? As you guys were saying, I think it's going to fit well into some form of aggro deck. The fact it's a 4-drop means you can just simply double discard. And for all the people at Team Calamity that don't enjoy playing backups, I think they're going to like this one. Yeah, it's just an absolute beast. 10,000 power for a 4-drop is nuts.
Yeah, that's the point actually. But Calamity, we have a lot of aggro players who like to sort of slap down like 3 or 4 forwards in like the first turn. So actually that makes this slightly more terrifying.
Yeah, a turn 2 Sephiroth, it still might be a thing.
It probably would, wouldn't it? I hate talking about spoilers because I get excited and then it just slowly sours. I just think, what am I going to do? But so yeah, what do we think of the Octa/ special? I think I think it was Rich might have said it was sort of irrelevant. Or was it you actually, James? You said it was irrelevant, but I'm not so sure. It might be relevant, but this is because you can only use it when you've both received 5 points of damage. So
yeah, that's right.
You're guessing that the game's going to be done by the time you get to that point.
I just think that's a very small window that will be live. That literally both people will be on 5 damage or more, and then this is on board and you just happen to have the Sephiroth in hand. It just seems one of those pipe dream sort of specials, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I guess what's the most played monster at damage 5? That and Saganashi. So I guess they just crack it in response anyway. A lot of the good monsters you can sort of crack in response to do the effect anyway. So yeah, maybe that part. I don't know. We'll see. I'll probably get Octa slashed all the time because I always forget about the damage mechanic. So I always get to about 5 points of damage and then all of a sudden I get destroyed. So yeah, Sephiroth's going to give me some bad games, I think. Right, next up was the Nyx. So the Kingsglaive. We might as well talk about all the Kingsglaive ones together. So they spoiled Nyx on Twitter, I think, and then a couple of days later we saw the sort of Kingsglaive support with everyone's comments on them. Surprisingly, they didn't tell them about Nyx when they were sort of giving their comments on all the Kingsglaive support, which is a bit of a shame because he's kind of integral to that. But what do we think of the Kingsglaive package as a whole? So it seems you've got a lot of things where when you break each other, it does something to someone else.
I think it's all right. it feels like it's going to be like shoehorned into an Earth Lightning deck because you've got all the Cindy already. There's 15s in Earth as well. So I said it seems like the package is all there, and I prefer it a lot more now. I know what some of the King's Glaive cards do. I think there's one that's like it's got that backup for Sawyer effect, where it's like when it's broken, you can get a character or forward or something to your hand, which again is quite nice. I think it's Crow, is it?
Yeah,
just
that
read.
seems that seems to be the one that you
Yeah, I
want to
think
pair up with.
that seems to be the best Kingsglaive to be broken. But my thoughts are like when you actually just play it down, it doesn't really do anything. So it's like you sort of want to play this down, then nix, and
It's expensive to do,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. So
Might not just play like a Sage.
yeah,
Yeah.
The nice thing is it's a Sid preview target, the Crow.
yeah. But then if it's a Sid preview target, then surely you want better cards. There are like a Surge. Yeah.
So yeah, so we're not sure. The one that was quite interesting was the Claris, so the 4-drop EX burst, the Earth one, where you can search a job king. I haven't actually searched what jobs are king, but I'm assuming there's some others outside of 15.
Yeah,
Earth,
I think
Earth EX is always good.
yeah. Isn't Rambier one?
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Rampier.
I mean,
yeah.
you've got Star Sybil.
I guess with L3, people were saying Rampier's not as consistent because you don't have Star Sybil. So then let's give them.
Now you do.
What's Rampier? That was last opus, so it's still around for 2 more revolutions, right? Yeah.
Oh yes.
So yeah, Rampier L3, if that's your thing, you're in luck because Claris is here to help you. Cool. And then yeah, the other one,
Glauca, is it?
Glaucoma, yeah.
Glaucoma.
He's not a Kingsglaive. Oh, this is another like Team Calamity nightmare soup. This one, so he reduces cost of lightning forwards by 1. Which if you ever come to a Calamity weekly or come to our regional, and you will find out what we're talking about and how bad this card is going to be for us. So yeah, making stuff cheap is always good. 2-drop Illawa sounds pretty nice.
This card is busted to fuck.
Yeah. There's a real push for lightning at the moment.
I was discussing it with another Team Calamity member, Aslan, who loves mono lightning, and we've already worked out a play of you've got the new Aranea. You ditch this to play Aranea, and then the Legend Ramza, the forward that gets reduced cost for each forward, that now becomes a 3-drop, and you play it down. If you got your Lulu backup, it's 9k, but then Glaucoma gives it a 1k boost. So then now it's 10k and gets its effect to break a 3-drop with haste, and all the cost is like 5 CP because of your backups, and you've ditched the card, you ditched it and got it back. And if you've got Aranea, you've got haste as well. So on 6 damage, so it's going to be very strong, I think.
James, what do you think?
I mean, Illa's already scary. A 7k Illawa is worse. A 7k 2-drop Illawa is worse. But no, very, very strong card. Yeah, it's going to be a bit frightening, this one. I don't know what people are going to do with it, but yeah, it's a little bit scary.
And I guess when they first play it down, there's no way to respond to it because they're not using an ability, right? So
I know you can, because it's when Glaucoma enters the field, he chooses a forward.
No, not that bit. I mean just the fact it costs less.
Oh no, but when he enters the field, his auto triggers, so you can respond to it. You can't. It's not a choice.
Oh, okay. So you can kill him, insta kill him before they get too much out of it. Okay.
I'm more laughing at the fact we're just sticking with the name Glaucoma now.
Yeah, Glaucoma. That's official. Okay, so we'll move on from the Kingsglaive. So the last thing to point out is, James, you actually noticed the Luce, his translation in Spanish or something is Lame Royale, which I think is great. That must be all the Kingsglaive then.
Yeah, every job Kingsglaive, Lame Royale.
Lame Royale. I thought I like that. Okay, so then the next one are these. Red Cap. So that was the Goblin monster. That becomes a 7k forward, and then you can pay 1, discard a red cap. Oh no, so you pay 1, discard red cap if it's in your hand, and deal something 7,000 damage. Not much to say on this one. I don't think it's that great.
It's not amazing. It's searchable, which is nice because there's that water one that searches a goblin.
Just do like an Ifrit with Kaituna and it's 7k, right?
Yeah, that's true. There are better things.
No, 7k just seems like not a great.
I don't know.
Really,
it gives monsters a version of a summon, which isn't too bad. But yeah, I don't think it's great.
Yeah, James doesn't do nothing for you, is it?
No, I mean this is just a mediocre fire card, isn't it?
Yeah. All right. So we'll move on to the next lots, which are these sort of like weirdly, like cartoony drawn ones. So these are all the chaos ones. So there's Tiamat. There's one in each element in there. So Tiamat, the Death Lord. Oh no, that's something different. That's not a chaos one. Lich.
Yeah,
Lich
Tiamat,
now
Lich,
in Earth.
Kraken, and Marilith.
Be ice, right? What do you think of these chaos ones? I quite like the Cracker one. I just think the art's quite good. But what do you think of these? James, you sort of felt this was a limited, like sealed draft sort of card.
Yeah, I feel that they're going to be okay when you're actually drafting the set, but in terms of constructed play, yeah, I don't think they're great. I could be wrong because obviously there could be more chaos support coming, but they don't seem that strong for 5-drops, considering you have to pay more when they come in as well to get the abilities. Yeah, they just don't seem great on paper.
Yeah, it's probably fair enough. Anything to add on that, Mitch?
I'm starting to. I don't mean to go against James, but I'm starting to like more I'm reading them. I'm starting to like them.
What's catching your eye?
The fact is, you don't have to run all 4. You can run 2. Like you could go Earth Wind, and Sybil it in, and then pay 2 and get a forward back, or you could Sybil in the Tiamat, pay 3 and break a 5 cost or more.
I mean, that was my thought. The only thought, if you can Sybil it in, then
Yeah.
don't. It's so bad. Like the Earth one, I think is all right because Earth plays well into that sort of thing.
When it dies, you search another card. So like when Tiamat dies, you search Lich. When Lich dies, you search Tiamat. You've got a constant loop of forwards.
Are we likely to get the other elements for this one? So ice and fire and lightning are missing at the moment. I haven't played Final Fantasy 1, so I wouldn't know.
No, well, if it's anything like 9, then there's only the 4 elements, which is Kraken, Tiamat, Marilith, and the one I've just missed.
Yeah.
Kraken, Lich, Tiamat, and Marilith.
Cool. To move on. There's one we did miss, which I thought might have been fake when I first saw it. It's just something. I think the way it was revealed looked a bit funny, which is the Exodus 1-drop summon, which is just absolutely. It's like Titan on steroids, and that Titan already was on steroids. So this is the EX burst. When it enters the field, you choose 1 forward that you control. It gains 3,000 power and brave, and it cannot be dulled by opponent summon's ability, and it cannot be returned to your owner's hand. And if you've received 5 points of damage, all the forwards you get, everyone gets everything. It's like monstrously a lot of stuff. What do we think of this one? Do we think it's absolutely bonkers, or?
I saw someone like warrant this card. They were like, "Oh, it's balanced because it doesn't draw you a card." That was their logic, and I was like, "Okay."
Well, yeah, it just seems ridiculous because like Titan was amazing, and it was a hero, and we were like, "Oh, this is amazing! Like it does so much." But this is just ridiculous, and it's EX burst as well. Imagine flipping the 5th damage and they hit that. Oh, yeah, mental. Okay, I think we're all in agreement. That is mental. Yeah, I don't know. What was he thinking? I don't understand that one, but yeah.
Does a lot for one TP. It's crazy.
Love it, yeah. Next one was the Death Lord. I think this is really cool. So when the Death Lord enters a field, you may search for 1 dark character and add it to your hand. 5-drop, 9k. I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's just a similar cam, but I don't know. It depends where it'll fit.
Cam, there, isn't it? I suppose you would just play Cam, wouldn't you? Probably.
Well, it depends if you're struggling for darks. I think. I mean, if you've got too many darks, then you might consider this to search any of them.
Cam's always a bit of a shame when you've already got the chaos, etc.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's pretty decent. It'll be good for L3, I guess, because there's lots of tasty dark cards at the moment. James, this one do anything for you?
Yeah, as Mitch was saying, it's a similar Camlanaut. I mean, you can always obviously run Chaos in a multicolored deck without running Camlanaut, because you can just play this and then search the Chaos if you need to. But yeah, we kind of touched on this subject earlier. The strength of Camlanaut laid in the fact that it was a Final Fantasy XI card, and you could Star Sybil, search it, drop the Camlanaut with the Star Sybil, and then search a dark. It all kind of worked in its own little mini engine. Whereas this at the moment, yeah, you can drop it with Star Sybil, but you can't search it on top of that as well.
That said, you can search the new 1-drop Chaos, and that will get this back from the break zone. So then you can search another one if you plan on running multiple. So that could be another mini engine. Because as I said, Chaos removes itself to remove, I think it's a character, and then you can, so you can bring Chaos remove one. Well, actually, you can play this down, get the Deathlord back, get rid of, get one in your hand, and then remove the Chaos, and then play another one. So it's sort of another loop there if that Deathlord dies. So there is something there at least, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere near as strong as Cam, like Sybil.
Might be another L3 trick, perhaps.
Yeah, probably L3 trick or like sealed and stuff. Although they've changed to this all-star draft anyway, haven't they? So I guess it's not, unless that was a decision they made later. I don't know. It feels more like a sort of drafty L3 sort of card, but yeah, I still think it's quite good. And then the last two more 7 cards. So we've got Reno. It's a 3-drop, very similar to Rude. Actually, the new Rude. If you control card name Rufus, Reno gains 3,000 power. And if you control a job member of the Turks, Reno gains haste. So yeah, more like generically, like for the 7 does a lot of, if you control this, everything gets haste and stuff, sort of generically hasty decks. Do we like Reno? I guess Mitch, you were sort of thinking we need to sort of get more Turks who aren't Rude or Reno.
Yeah, I think so. I don't know if this is going to be the set for it, but I would like more. I think you could fit in. Is it Seng or whatever his name is? But
yeah, there's a couple more to come. Whether they will, I guess.
Yeah, they could be in different colours as well.
I would be a bit disappointed if we get another Rufus, because seeing as the first Rufus was a legend, and he's not really had much to do really. It's quite limited sort of pack. So then to get another couple of Turks, but they're both called Rude and Reno again, this is a little bit of a shame. Because they don't do too much to boost that legend Rufus.
No, and there are more Turks than just them 3. Well, 2. So yeah, I can see what you mean.
I'd like to see something come in to make that Rufus better or sort of more usable, rather than just a new Rufus comes in and it just sort of filters away. So we'll see. James, you like all the 7, like as a fan of the series?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Anything you like about these Turks?
I'd like to see a new Rufus, and I'd like it to be a backup. I'm a big fan of these, these characters that actually have abilities when you control other cards. But if they are backups, I touched on this earlier. It's much harder to remove a backup than it is to remove your other forward. So, for example, if you had forward legendary Rufus on the board and Reno as well, if your opponent just removes the Rufus off the board, then your Reno is much smaller. 7k is still respectable, but if you're swinging it into an 8k or something like that, and you suddenly lose it, you're like, whoops. But yeah, it's one of these things that I do hope they make a backup Rufus, because you could play backup Rufus, you could play backup Rude and play this card as well, and you can still use the Rude special if need be because you control the Reno.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I think we've seen the like the Cloud and Noctis. Is it like the Theatre Rhythm art, or is it like a mobile one with like the cartoony art as like 2-drop
Theatre Rhythm?
Yeah. So could see a Theatre Rhythm 2-drop Rufus maybe. Yeah, we'll see. Cool. And then the last one is, to me, this feels a bit pointless, but another Kadaj. So 4-drop Ice EX. When he enters the field, you can search for one other remnant other than Kadaj. And when Kadaj or a job remnant enters your field, choose one character opponent controls, freeze it. 6,000 power, which is not great, I guess. But we'll talk about it in a bit. The starter Kadaj is just so good. It's because it feels like a bit of a wasted Kadaj spot, unless the other remnants are really good. Anyone care to differ? Or?
No, I agree. I love Loz and Yazoo and Kadaj. I think they were great in the film, and hopefully their cards reflect that. Like this first Kadaj is a bit of a letdown, but the dark one is so strong that maybe they can still work together. I don't know if they'll have something like job name Kadaj gets 2k or something like that. Then again, it would just be ridiculous. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. James, anything for you on this one?
No, I'm just waiting to reserve judgment to see what the other job remnants do.
Yeah, fair enough. I think I really need to go back and watch Advent Children again. I watched it when it first came out, but I can't remember it at all.
Oh, it's a great film.
Yeah. All I remember is when he like does a mega jump up like a mile high like tower.
Yeah, from like standing still, it was basically superhero stuff.
Yeah. So
Marvel copied Final Fantasy.
I might have been really tired when I watched it, but it didn't make much sense. Cool. Right, that's all the spoilers. Woohoo! Not as bad as last time. So we'll move on to our sort of main topic today. So yeah, we were going to talk meta, where the meta is at. Thinking about the Crystal Cup, like what can we sort of think to expect? What sort of decks are you going to take? That kind of stuff. I guess I don't know, James. You play on Untap quite a lot. So Untap uses a lot of the new cards as soon as they're sort of spoiled. So I guess the first point of call is particularly for Europe. I guess for most other places we've got sort of 3 what we call like the top tier decks, right? So Waff, Rampair, and Windwater. And Rampair has got multiple varieties, but I guess they all do just as well each other, really. So you can't really pin down each one. The first thing, I guess, the only new thing this tournament from the ones we've had before is that there's these new starter cards. So what impact do we think, if any, will the new starters have on the tournament? Mitch, do you want to?
No, actually, I'll let James go first.
Okay.
Okay. I had a topic in mind for this one. The first thing is it's the light and the dark from the new starters. So I'll touch on the dark first with good old Kadaj, as we mentioned earlier. Now, Kadaj, we discussed this before this came out, and I thought to myself, how on earth, as a Windwater player, am I going to deal with this card? And truth be told, as I found out during the last tournament, not easily.
When you've been playing Untap, is everyone running Kadaj, like in everything?
Do you know what? I hadn't seen it.
Really?
Until the tournament, I hadn't seen anybody play Kadaj, so I was completely unprepared for it and kind of how to interact with it. So I was like, oh, when it hit the board, it's like I'm just getting hit by this card over and over and over. And
sorry. So you mean when you came to our first, not regional, the Calamity Weekly tournament?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we had our tournaments at Calamity on a Friday night, so it was the first night of the starter deck. So I'm pretty sure, everyone has it on. So that's interesting. So Untap, no one's running it, but Calamity, like everyone run it.
Yeah. The other one was Aerith. Now there seems to be a lot of people trying out. It's called what was the term? Pod, I guess. Is what they called it. Any deck that's using. Similar to Birth Pod from Magic the Gathering. Obviously, they're just using clouds to upgrade their Final Fantasy VII characters. But mainly the combo I was seeing was people using Ice Shulk to drop Cloud. Opponent discards a card from using Shulk. And then next turn, they would send the Shulk for the Cloud to get Light Aerith, the new one, which allows them to pick up 2 Final Fantasy VII characters from the break zone, which included Shulk and another card that they've discarded to kind of set up. And then obviously they can keep going on combos from there. There's even, if you wanted to go one step further, you could play Vice the 6-drop, which is FF7 as well. You could play, if this is, if you're really, really lucky, Vice into Shulk into Cloud. And next turn, you could send the Vice for Legendary Sephiroth, the 7-drop.
Looking at that myself.
But yeah, this is talking like pipe dream stuff here.
I mean, yeah, it all sounds a bit memey, and which it sounds fun, but again, you're sort of waiting for everything to align, and you'll have sort of every 10 games you'll have one where everything's amazing and all this stuff will come off, but the rest of it you'll just get sort of consistency stopped. I guess that's one thing with the European side of the meta. This sort of consistency often rules out in people's choices.
I mean, the big problem that these pod decks have is everything seems to have 5,000 power, and when Fina is such a well played card, it just seems to just keep them off the top table. Do you know what I mean? They just seems to answer it far too cleanly.
Well, I mean, it's one of the reasons I think why Wind Water has just sort of stayed at the top, isn't it? 'Cause it has those sort of easy, not easy answers, but everything's there for it for a relatively little effort.
Yeah, it's got the efficient board clears.
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about it briefly. It was a Haste Take in an earlier episode, Mitch. We sort of mentioned, did we think Final Fantasy, because it was like the new Final Fantasy 7, because it was like the new thing for this Crystal Cup, everyone might sort of put down like their WAF deck, for example, and switch over to FF7. I'm probably thinking when it comes to Crystal Cup, I don't think they will.
Yeah, I think there'll be, as I think I said it on the last one, I think there's going to be a space for a deck that no one's thought of. And that could do really well in the tournament. But I think the strength behind it would be that no one knows how to play against it. There was a deck not long ago, if I remember correctly, that was like Fire Water FF9, where it would play Legend Phoenix and play the Zidane to untap all of your backups, and then play 4-drop Phoenix to get like another character VV back or something like that. And people hadn't played against it before, so they didn't know what was happening. And I think that's the Crystal Cup's got a space for that sort of deck just to like steamroll through.
And you think it'd be something completely new?
I think it'll be, yeah. I don't want to say it's just going to be a twist on something. Like you could do something like slightly change your deck or something like that, but I think there is going to be something there that's just going to destroy and no one's going to have thought of it. Like
yeah, I mean the rogue play is always an option, isn't it? These sort of best of one day, whole day of best of one Swiss, and we've seen it in other countries like Japan with obviously Gold Bears coming back. Now you can search Gold Bears out. All of a sudden there was like a rife of Gold Bears decks, and that's the sort of thing in best of one. If they slap down Gold Bears turn one, you're like, oh, I'm not ready for this, and it can catch a lot of people out, various different things like that. So yeah, you're probably right. I mean, I know I can think of one in Team Calamity. I won't say what it is because it can keep his sort of text spicy. We were talking about it the other day with him about, he's got like a sort of very rogue aggro-y deck that could cause some problems, and before you know it, the game's lost, and you've got no chance to do anything. A lot of that could come up. So yeah, you may be right. I mean, James, you were talking about you'd been playing some people online who were using this. I think it's Earth Ice deck, or it might be a triple color deck because it's got wind in it as well, isn't it? Where they basically don't really attack you, but they stop you from doing everything. So it's like Time Mage, so you can't attack, and then it just keeps wiping your board with sort of Renoa and Finas and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
that's done well in America, I think.
Yeah, the purpose of the deck was just purely to kind of stop your opponent from attacking with the Time Mages and Arcanist. And then when you kind of developed a half decent board, it would either kind of Shantotto you, or it would just simply board wipe you with Fina plus Renoa, or Fina Magic Pot, or Genesis Avatar, and one of those two as well. It played triple Veritas as well, just because he could go Veritas, send for Magic Pot, Veritas, and make you lose a character as well. It was a very grindy game to play. I did not enjoy that one bit.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing we're talking about here, though, isn't it? Just sort of that rogue bit of spice.
It sounds like similar to that YYT deck. I don't know if you all saw it, but I think it was Ice, Earth, Wind, and it would have like Layak, and then every time your opponent swung, he would just play Valfor, and then his turn he'd just play Citra, get the Valfor back, and then
I've seen this deck.
Yeah, like Larxius, and then just get back the Layak, play the Layak down, and it's like, okay. And Doga, every time he plays Valfor, break it back up, and it's like, oh no, this isn't good. I'm in a loop.
Oh no, Doga's 4-cost summon, right?
Yeah, well, no, the Valfor 5-drop.
Oh, the one. Oh yeah, actually, I was going to raise this one as well. The return to hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a fucking nightmare. I've played against this a couple of times, and it's like all the forwards are monsters as well, so you just can't do anything. Yeah, no, I know the one you mean. Oh yeah, that's that's a complete ball ache.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a few variants of that using I think some people use Warriors of Light stuff as well. I think.
I mean, I've played against it once, and the only reason I won is because I had a Lua special and managed to crack out 4 forwards and managed to break the Layak. That was the only reason. I got drew the luckiest I've ever drawn in my life, and I was like, I'm so sorry, but fuck your deck.
I played when he was using Moogles and Sarah, so and all the backups were Moogles. So they kept getting I think I won 7-6. I can't remember the guy it was. It was an octagon. And I was like, I felt dead in water. Something must have happened. I can't remember how I won. I don't even remember what deck I was playing. Might have been Mono Earth. But, probably a few lucky EXs saved me. Yeah, that would be a problem. I guess summon cancel with the thing. And then, so what do you think we can expect to see? Is there just no way to predict it? And just, Mitch, you're going to go for Rampair, are you?
What do you mean? Am I going to play it, or am I going to
take it?
Yeah, I'm probably going to take that.
You used to run the Mystic version.
Yeah, I'm going to try. I'm going to try a different version, one more out there. I think. Just one that I played on Friday. I think it's strong. I don't know if it's better than the original, but it's something that people haven't seen before. So that's why I'm more into it. But I expect to see a lot of Kadaj because I think it's so good against the meta.
Kadaj is amazing. I've been testing with it. It just is so good. All the effects are good. Depending, they're so adaptable for whoever you're playing against, and it's never bad. Even if you almost say, even if I just remove 2 from your break zone, that's so strong as well.
Yeah. That effect is fantastic.
So, James, you're going Wind Water, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Have you got anything? Are you sort of making tweaks or stuff you're worried about, or you just hope for the consistency?
As mentioned, there's going to be a lot of Kadaj, and literally the first thing I did when I came home from the Calamity local was order some foil Alexanders. I was like, I'm going to slot that bad boy in. I was like, I need an answer to this card.
You can just cooch the Kadaj right before it leaves the field, so it stays on.
Yeah, they can. It just stays on. Yeah, but it doesn't answer the problem, does it?
It gives you a bit of time, I guess. I was discussing this with Peter, and I was saying, this because I've been playing with Peter a lot online. It's like, this card is so good, and then he's like, yeah, I'm going to test it as well. And we were just saying, everyone's going to be running this, but then actually sort of reminded me because he runs Hein, and Europe seems to love Hein. They just everyone thinks it is a great card, but will people change Hein for Kadaj? I'm not so sure they will.
I think it's okay to run one of each. Maybe I'm wrong, but in the matches where Kadaj is good, Hein's not so great. In the matches where Hein's great, Kadaj isn't that great. So I think you can sort of mix and match. If you've got a way to either get rid of one from
Hein gets rid of it, right? Because he just discards the
Hein can get rid of it, but if Kadaj is on the field, then as I said, it depends on what matchup you want, because for example, Hein's great against Waff, whereas Kadaj is amazing against Windwater and Rampierre. because I was like went in with my Rampier deck with Kadaj, and I was like, oh, this is so strong, and then played against Rich, and he played down Kadaj, and I was like, where's my break zone? What do I do? How do I play this? And I couldn't kill it because, as I said, I was playing Rampier, doesn't really have that much removal until you're on 5 damage, and he was just like, well, I'm just going to hit you from 4 to 7, and I was like, oh, well played, sir.
Well, and just take away all your targets as well.
Yeah. So I just couldn't do anything the whole game.
It's kind of a point because you've got the same kind of problem that I have, is that a lot of my removal I can only do during my turn.
Yeah.
Which obviously Kadaj goes yum yum yum.
Yeah. But I mean, it just means like you just need to tweak your deck going into Crystal Cup, knowing that card's going to be there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think a lot of people will be doing that. So I'll be interested to see what sort of text people have come up with. I think like there are a few, like in Rampier, there's quite a few. In Windwater, as you said, you've got Alexander. That's pretty good.
Well, if you're playing Earth, you could run Fenrir, right? And
yeah,
it's Fenrir's time to shine because
but
it's
then
quite easy to do in their opponent's turns. It's not so costly.
But then they don't really. Well, the Tricolor ones doesn't run summons, so because of Herdy. So it depends. As I said, there still are other options, or you can, like, if you run the Earth Lightning version, that runs summons, so that can just Fenrir it out. Waff, I don't actually think that has much of a problem with Kadaj, because you can just.
They're going to need to keep Kadaj on, really, probably, aren't they? Because of the haste and the
and also
speed.
Ifrit, and then they can just. I think it's Pelennor does the 1k across the board, and just kills it. So, as I said, there's not really much that Kadaj isn't. It doesn't provide any benefits in the Waff matchup, I don't think. Because even removing the reins, like most of the time you're only going to remove like 1 rein, and all they need is 1 in hand, and you not to have Kadaj, and you've pretty much lost. So, as I said, it's just depending on what matchup, which one you want.
Yeah. So I guess I should probably say for what I'm going to take, because this is quite a new thing for me. So I don't ever really play better decks. I always like to make my own stuff and try my own things, which never really goes that well. But this time I've been convinced to go meta to see what happens. So I've gone for what I think is the lesser of evils, because it's not the toppish of the meta at the moment, which is mono ice. So I've done the honourable thing of going to the Worlds this, and Kyle Peters, thanks very much. I've stolen your deck, and in true net deck fashion, I've changed about 3 cards, and one of them is to add Kadaj, and I've also added Kate Sith from the starters.
That card is great.
That card is wicked as well, yeah. So I run 3 of them just because I want to see it. But it's so good. So far, it has been, every time I've played it, I've picked something good to get rid of, and it's wicked. So coming in mono ice. So that's my answer to all these horrible cards, is hopefully just discard it all before it becomes a problem.
Discard it and Kadaj it out the game.
Discard it, yeah, and then if you're going to get it back, just Kadaj it out. Yeah, so yeah, we'll see how that goes. I was quite excited for it. See what happens. I've been beating Peter quite a few times on our testing, which doesn't normally happen. So I'll get a nice full sense of confidence. And then he's playing some like wacky triple colour thing though, so maybe not a great matchup for him. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. We'll do a report afterwards. We were sort of joking to call it My Life as a Meta Lord, sort of in the fantasy spirit. See what happens. So yeah, you never know. Mono ice, I might bring it back to the top tier. Top tier, yeah, with my take on it. So yeah, cool. All right, so I think we've probably talked enough about that. Let's move on to our sort of more regular features. We didn't get to do them last time because we talked about spoilers the whole time. We'll come in with the Haste Takes. I think next, try and break up a bit. So this is where I give each of you a question or a topic, and you have 30 seconds to discuss the topic before the timer shuts you out. Just to point out, James is slightly panicking because he has actually realised now I don't actually give these out before we record. So I think he always thought it was like a fake news thing that we pretended that we didn't know them. But he hasn't been sent any questions, so I think he's a bit worried. But Mitch, you always go first with this.
So James goes first?
No, we're going first with this one.
Okay.
We'll start off. Yeah, we'll start off with this one. You ready?
Yep.
So the first one, because I've been playing mono ice, it made me start thinking about ice, and really what happened with turbo ice died, and then a lot of the ice players went with it, but it probably wasn't even the best ice deck. So why are we not seeing much of mono ice at the moment?
I think it's because ice does well against wind water, but I think it struggles against WAF. I'm not 100% sure about that. I think it struggles against WAF, but it does struggle against Rampier, because in my opinion, the best ice version is the FF6 ice version. But with Shantotto coming in, you can break their backups so you don't get the lock discard. Then your forwards are generally smaller. Oh, sorry.
It was going quite nice. I kind of wanted to hear what you're going to say, but
no, that's the problem with Haste Takes.
Rules is the rules. James, over to you. So we've got the Tifa gift tin. It's quite hard to say, which is coming up soon. And in it, they've included the full art Y'shtola, which is sort of arguably one of the best legends in the game. And they've also added the full art Heraisvel gear. Are they trying to tell us something?
Are they trying to tell us something? No, I just think that because they were only released in China to begin with, they just want to put everyone on an equal playing field so everyone can have those full arts. I mean, it's nice to have them in English finally. I don't think, I'm not even going to say his name, the 6-drop light is going to see play, but everyone's going to have those Y'shtolas. They look absolutely stunning. That's all I got.
Well, that's 25 seconds. It was the wrong answer, because I think Heraisvel gear is an unsung hero. Everyone needs to try it out. I always try and give, like, legends are legends for a reason. So just because we don't think so straight away, I think they're trying to tell us something. It's probably like broken to fuck and we just don't realise. But yeah, Mitch, over to you. Okay, we kind of covered this one already, but we'll do it again. So forwards now have so many strong auto abilities and enter the field abilities. Should we waste space with summons?
I think Kadaj is actually them trying to push summons. Like, for example, James said that he was going to put in Alexander to kill the Kadaj. A lot of cards now are only during your turn, so you have a big turn, then your opponent has a big turn, you have a big turn. If you add summons now, you can disrupt their turns, and that's why I think Kadaj is so strong currently, is because of the lack of summons. Add them in, Kadaj is less of a problem.
Oh, bang on. Well done. You're getting the game warmed up. James, over to you. So we have seen a decline in the mono decks. Are there any particular reasons why you think we should try it again, or reasons why they've declined?
Ooh. No, I'm really happy with that one. Yeah, I think it's just because there seems to be a lot of mix of different elements that work well with each other recently, such as Rampare, Earth Lightning, Wind Water, Earth Fire. They kind of seem to support each other better than mono decks do. They just complement the elements a lot better by having two or more in place, and that just seems to be keeping mono out of the meta.
Yeah, nicely done. Are you timing yourself?
No.
Okay, we've got a good awareness of 30 seconds.
Well, yeah, you just waste 10 seconds going,
I was going to say, yeah, top tip. You wait like 3 seconds.
To be honest.
Okay, Mitch, over to you. So this time I'm going for a meta deck for the Crystal Cup. How much should I be teching against the sort of top decks we just talked about, or should I just worry about my own game?
It depends how your deck is, in my opinion. Like, if Mono Ice does what Mono Ice does, it discards your opponent's hand. That forces them to play your game, so you don't really have to tech much against them, because you're going to be controlling the game. It's their problem to deal with you. If you're not controlling the game, then your deck's not doing what it should have been doing, and there's the issues there.
That's fair enough. I suppose I should add, because this is a guy from World, so the deck's fucking great. So I shouldn't be changing it.
You've just got 3 bad cards in there that you put in.
I've taken out some and put my own spin on it. But Cool. All right, James, over to you. So Chocobos and Warrior Lights have lots of new support, but we're still not really seeing them do anything. Give me a case for Chocobos or Warrior Lights.
What, as in to play them?
Yeah, just
Okay.
3 seconds, mate.
Well, it's all the support and the searchability you've got in them. There's so many different cards that can actually search them out. There's so many cards that work with them. The problem is they're just not so efficient as the current meta decks. I don't know. Why don't you bring Ben on and ask him?
Yeah, actually, as I started reading it, I knew you probably weren't the right one for this question. Apologies. I think Chocobos won some tournaments in America, right?
Yeah, there was that one
Like-
time, I think.
Are
No,
you
it was
sure
like
it just didn't- it just wasn't running the card Chocobo from Opus 10?
No, I think it was a while ago. There was one, I remember, I think even you said like it just dies to like Valve or something. The
I
whole
think
deck.
it was more recently.
What was it?
I think because they do. There's lots of more cups going on in America, isn't there? So it's obviously much bigger and there's a lot more stores. So
Yeah.
I guess maybe that
Oh.
day people were playing different stuff. Because my first thought is like Fina and Valfor.
I will say though that when we went to Nats, the one that Peter won, I saw one of the creators playing a game, and he was playing Warrior Lights versus like the top meta decks at the time, which I think was like Mono Ice and other such stuff. And he had like walked past him, and he had 3 lights in his hands and no other cards. Come back, and he won 7-0. And I was like, what happened? What did I miss? And that was what inspired me to always think that there are decks out there that aren't the meta, that are probably stronger than the ones that we're playing.
So I mean, if you're listening, you've got 2 weeks till the Crystal Cup. Somebody do a Warrior Light thing, because it probably is completely broken, and you just need to have the courage to play it.
He did have Ultima in his hand. I will say that one.
Oh, I was going to ask actually, was one of them Haraysville gear?
No.
Big
No, I don't think it was.
Okay. All right,
Even
fair
they think it's a bad card.
Cool. So we'll move on from the Haste Takes. Well done, James. You survived. Moving to, we're on the Ronso Rage. So we haven't really done a Ronso Rage for a while because we're all quite happy, I think. And then today, the Final Fantasy VII demo has been released, so we're all sort of nice and happy. So what we did is we just asked Team Calamity to suggest Ronso Rages for us. So rather than do one Ronso Rage, I'll just quickly read out the things they suggested, and we can quickly talk about whether they're worth getting angry about. So the first one, James, this is going to trigger you, I think. Just the word I've got here is untap. You only said one word. I guess they're sort of thinking they don't like untap. You might as well just use octagon. Do you think?
Oh, right, okay. They
were just angry at untap.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Strong arguments from Team Calamity.
On the Facebook message when they said untap, it got quite a few thumbs ups as well. So it's
When you said untap, I genuinely just thought you meant what, as in like win water? They got a problem with that?
no, the system.
Just the website. Okay, I got it.
Yeah. So you're
I
like
mean,
the
it's
biggest
not-
advocate of untap. Is it as bad as we think? I don't really like it because I think Octagon's much better.
It's one of
You
these
like it
things.
because you can play it at work, right? Because it's web.
Yeah. Don't tell them that.
in your free time, your spare break time.
It's spare time when I'm not working. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I prefer it because I can play it at work and I don't need to install anything. Plus, the people on there are quite good fun. Plus, it's friendly to Mac users as well. I understand that people prefer either Untap or Octagon. Use both. Use one. Do whatever you want.
That's fair. So everyone, just calm down a bit. It's all right. I don't really like using it. That gives me a headache. But I think I'm getting more used to it. It's not as bad as I did think it was, but yeah. The next one was L3 decks are just Rampair. I think we can all get angry about that, right? We sort of thought that might happen when they spoke about L3.
Yeah,
What won L3, the first tournament in Europe?
I think
It
it
was
was
Rampair, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, are we wrong? But yeah,
I think
that's
it was
fair
Alex. I think it was Alex Hancock's with like a Ardin, and nothing could answer it.
Yeah, thanks for that one. Ardid in L3.
Yeah.
Lovely.
I'm fired,
I
didn't
bet he's running Thanos as well.
Yeah, imagine them two just together. You'd
You
just be like, no, I'll just give up.
Maybe anyone just scooped. Maybe that's why. But yeah,
I just
okay.
want to shout out Ben there, who had me under an Ardin lock with Phil, Thanos, and Minwoo. So shout out to Ben. Thank you for that. I still have
Thanos.
I still have nightmares about that one.
Okay, yeah. Ronso Rage approved for that one, and it's just going to get worse because we just talked about that thing that searches out the ramp pair as well. So happy days. The next one, I think this was a serious one. Promo distribution. I think someone's getting angry that the distributor, what are they called in Europe, Asmodee.
Asmodee.
They're always really behind with the promos. Yeah, like some stores will be like months behind. I think there's been some similar problems in the US as well, where stores just aren't even getting promos. So not only are they behind, they're just not getting them.
Yeah, we had the our Christmas present, which was the full art arc, and we had it for 1 week in like January. And then I think have we just got March now? Is that the February promo? Who decided that, by the way? Who decided March was the February promo?
Oh.
Just wait a month.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. What we've had is not a Square Enix problem. Apparently the promos are massively available and they're there. Just seems to be. They need to get a new distributor. So there's always problems with them, isn't there? But I don't know. That's another question.
Yeah. That's the higher ups.
The last one on this, are we going to say that's approved? I think it is because that's a
yeah.
Approved. And then the last one was Scale Toad. I guess just that exists. That's you actually, isn't it, James?
Yeah.
I think everyone does. No one likes. It's always great if you're playing it. If you were the one who slaps it down, that's all right.
Yeah. There's no problem at all. I think it's a perfectly balanced card, and
I mean, yeah.
Mate, if Scale Toad is perfectly balanced, Valor 4 can, is the fairest card you've ever seen in your life.
That's fine. Now I've got Kadaj because Kageyama won't remove the card from the game, so I'm going to have to.
That's your only hope is to Kadaj it. So yeah, do we agree? Scale Toe is just complete bastard. It doesn't need to be in the game.
Oh, it's a case of they banned Thaumaturge and they banned Guesswork because they're like, it's too easy to discard cards, and it's just like, oh yeah, let's print this thing that just constantly discards your opponent's cards. Yeah, if it did it to both players, I wouldn't have an issue. I was like, but no, it just does it to your opponent, and 2 cards in hand it's too easy. They flip a card every turn.
The thing I'd say about it that makes it like a bit unfair is just the fact it costs 3 and it's a monster, and it's just so difficult to get rid of it. Because if it's a 2-cost monster, you might have more of a chance, but a 3-cost, it's really hard for a lot of elements just to get rid of it because monster breaking is not readily available to everyone.
To be honest, I'm kind of glad it's a 3-drop, because if it was a 2-drop, you could Sid waft the thing in.
Yeah, but still, I don't know. I think because monster breaking is not that well spread out amongst all the game, there's not much of it. I think that's what makes it worse.
But that's the thing, like elements do have access to the break of the monsters. It's just they don't run it. I agree with you.
I can do it all right.
I agree with you that Scale Toad is a degenerate card. I'm not going to lie, but
I don't think the monster breaking is as fairly spread across, and there's not enough for it.
I don't know. No. Like I think fire's got like a fine.
Right.
Wind, I'm pretty sure it has an effect. One that just breaks a monster. In fact, it's got loads that just break monsters.
Yasmat.
Yeah, you've got Yasmat. The EX burst backup one. You've got Alexander.
Yeah.
Alexander break Scale Toad, isn't it? 4 or more.
No, the 2-drop one.
The 2-drop one, yeah.
Earth can do. Lightning can do. Water, I don't think it can actually break it. It can just bounce it. But
can it bounce a monster? I don't think so.
Yeah, I think it can bounce monsters. I think.
The question is do you play these cards just to answer a card that your opponent is only playing probably one of? The answer is no. Unless it's a serious problem, would you really want to put in the counters for just one card your opponent may or may not draw? That's the big problem.
I don't know, like for example, you've got the modular cards which have that sort of thing. Like if Rita breaks
Yeah,
a monster
Rita's a great answer to that.
and does stuff.
Rita-
Alexander,
Yeah, Fire Deck's played Ifrita kind of anyway because it's a good card. But when you're jamming in specific stuff to break stuff like Scale Toad, and then you just come across matchups with don't even play monsters, for example, you're like, was this worth it?
Well, actually, maybe I was like, I don't like Scale Toad. I think it's degenerate. But actually, the more we talked about it, actually, maybe it's a good thing to make you have to play stuff you wouldn't normally.
yeah, it makes your
in,
deck a
just to
little
make your deck. Yeah, like you said with Kadaj making people play summons. Maybe this is like makes people play Monster Break, and then you start to sort of vary it out a bit. Maybe it's a good thing. Oh, I don't know. I'm on the fence. It is a disgusting card.
I do think it's a disgusting card,
Yeah.
but I think it should force people to look at their own deck more than just cry overpowered and get rid of it. The same with
answer is, actually, I had the answer to this because Peter ran one of Scale Toad. Turn 1, Kate Sith. There it was, sat in his hand. And I was like, yes. Kate Sith and Kadaj again is the answer. So yeah, maybe it's not so bad. Cool, right. How are we doing for time? Mitchell, you've got to go off to your pizza party. We've got just enough time to do our Cosmo memory to finish off. So this is where we pick a card from older opuses. Sometimes it's a card that was like particularly strong and has faded away, or one we think might be something that now is sort of time to shine. But actually this time we've gone for the Opus 5 Wool, so the Earth Wool. I'm just going to bring it up its text. So Earth Wool, I mean, at the time it was like one of the best cards in the game. It was one of the most played, obviously, it was around the time like Dadaluma and all that sort of stuff. So everyone was playing Wool, and it was like one of the first cards to sort of really push the value of sales up, like the single sale market. This was going for like £35, wasn't it, back in Opus 5 and 6. So it was like the first one to sort of really go into that sort of era. Now we see a lot of the sort of really sought after legends coming up to that price, but now it's just completely disappeared. Even people who are playing Earth, they don't consider Wool. Is there any main reason why, or is it just Earth's not played as much? You're playing Earth now because you're playing Rampare, so why wouldn't you use Wool?
I mean, in the initial version, because me and Aslan from Team Calamity made it together, and in our initial version we had Wool and Maya because we thought that they synergized really well together. The problem is, Wool is nice when you're ahead. It was like you mentioned the Earth Wind, where it was really strong in that deck, but you could slap down Dadaluma, kill all your opponent's forwards, and then play Wool. And that's what made it strong, because you'd already had the board then because of Dadaluma. There's not many cards now that can do that sort of stuff, where you just kill the board based off of one forward. So every forward that you have now needs to matter, needs to do something, needs to be there for a reason. And Wool was just more of a win more card, if that makes sense. If it was just like a surplus of requirements, you didn't need it in your deck. You just needed it to be like save you from EX burst, save you from like being able to push freely and stuff like that.
James, you probably not played Wool, I guess. You played against it a lot, I guess, at the time, but
I have, yeah. I've never really kind of played Earth as a whole. I've played it a little bit in Opus 1, but yeah, I've never really touched Earth as an element.
Yeah, you played Earth in Opus 2, wasn't it? The Water Earth Vincent deck, I remember seeing.
You're right. Yeah, that was the Earth Water Control. I remember now, the Warrior of Light. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, Wool was a long distant thing by that point. But yeah, it's one of these cards that, as you said, the price absolutely skyrocketed. It was one of the most expensive single cards. I think it was up until about Opus 7, it still was quite expensive. And then it just kind of disappeared because people started playing Legendary Noctis and things like that, and it just kind of fell out of decks. It originally was a 3 of, then it went to a 2 of, and then just disappeared. it's just like, what happened to it?
Yes, I remember it used to. It's a bit like a mini Kadaj almost, because it used to like Mitch said, when you were ahead, it issued to bully games. So this would, you're struggling, and they would play this, and then it would just become like just get bullied by it, and that's kind of what happens with Kadaj now. Well, at least the games I've been sort of playing it or seeing people play it. It's a bully card, and it's a bit of a weird because I don't really feel like it's like the game has moved on past it, 'cause I still think all the text on it is fairly relevant. So yeah, it's a weird one. I guess Earth as the Earth as an element become down, maybe. I guess a lot of people used to play Earth, and now they don't as much. The Rampare, you've only got limited slots, and it's taken up by stuff which is sort of focused on the Rampare. I don't know. Is there an argument to bring Wool back?
Well, it's interesting because obviously Ash is a very well played card in Opus 10. It's a similar sort of thing. It's a modular pick 2 of 4. But Ash sees so much play, and Wool sees none.
What about like in a Waft deck? 'Cause that's Earthfire, giving something.
It's space, isn't
or
it?
something. That seems good. Is there just no space for it?
This is it, isn't it? Space. As Mitch was saying, every forward that you have in your deck has to do something, and it goes towards the strategy of the deck overall. And you just ask yourself, does WOF need something to give themselves 2k, a Brave, or Protect from EX bursts? The answer is probably not. They've got the cards that do everything that they kind of need to. They can play things like Ifrit to clear your opponent's forwards. It's all kind of self-contained. They don't need it, and I think that's probably why we don't see it anymore. Is that decks have evolved past the point that they actually need a card like that.
Yeah, it's the same with Rampare. Like, it doesn't need that wall push because it's got ways to push in other ways. Like, for example, you could choose to give yourself, like, play wall, give one forward Brave and stuff like that, but it runs a lure. So if your opponent thinks they can swing through, they're risking the Allure Special, which again is theoretically just another removal piece. So as I said, I think it's just sort of become more outdated now.
So do you think that's the end for WoW?
No, I think there'll be some. They'll always try and bring back old cards that were like really good.
Yeah, I guess the Opus 5 stuff is the one that's aged the best from the older stuff.
Yeah, Diabolos still sees played now,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Yeah, so
okay, so maybe we'll see it again. But for now, just use Kadaj for the 2k Brave. Cool. All right. So on that note, we'll wrap up today's episode. James, did you want to do a quick plug for your Card Cavern tournament that you've been doing? I guess
a quick plug.
Everyone's already in it, right?
It feels like everybody. Yeah, there's a good 70 odd people in there.
Where you on now? Round 3?
We're about to start round 3 tomorrow. At which point the Opus 11 starters are legal from round 3. So hopefully we'll see a shift up and see some cool decks come into play. Maybe we'll just see 15 million Kadaj decks. We'll find out.
Yeah. What sort of thing have you seen people playing? Are they playing more fun stuff because it's like a sort of more fun tournament, or?
No, they're going in their A game. I'm seeing basically meta decks everywhere I kind of go. Little bit of Earth Ice, little bit WOF, little bit of Wind Water. Yeah, it's all meta stuff from what I've seen.
Interesting. Will be interesting to see how that progresses. You come back and report on the Kadaj status. And then the last thing, I guess, if you want to check out Team Calamity, go over to our YouTube. We haven't had much matchup content lately. We need to start getting that going, I think.
Yeah, I think it was just preparation for there was Winter Cup, then we had the Christmas break, and now we've got the Crystal Cup. But after that, I can see we're starting picking it up again, especially with the new Opus coming.
Cool. All right, excellent. Well, that's the end of today's episode. Thanks for joining us. If you're still listening, we're all off to play the Final Fantasy demo. Except for Mitch, you're off to a movie night, right? Enjoy your movie night. Are you watching Advent Children?
I will be now.
Yeah, good stuff. Excellent. Right. Thanks very much. Speak to you later.
Bye.
Bye.